Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Experience Kills. It's episode 31 and today you have the terrible two, the nightmarish pair, the bickering bros. It's Ben and Rob.
About to say that the nightmarish pair, the bickering bros. Yeah, no, that's definitely right.
The old school, the I don't know, any others we can come up with? Any other names for just the two of us?
Laurel and Hardy.
Laurel and Hardy. I don't want to argue about which one's which.
I think we're just gonna go. Yeah.
How you doing, man? Anyway, how's things? How's your week been?
I'm good. I have been spacefaring this week. I have done nothing except Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, we will come back to that at the end, but we won't. Yeah. We have a whole other podcast for that, so a whole other show. Yeah, I'm the same. I've had the week off work. I've been doing exactly what you've been doing, basically, and playing that one video game. Much to the guilt I've been feeling for not playing many other video games that I should be playing for the channel, but I just want to play Mass Effect.
You've had the week off work, and I completed Mass Effect 2 before you.
I do give you props for that. That is impressive. But I think let's do what we normally do. We have a bit of a structure to this. Okay. Let's talk about
really?
Yeah, a little bit of a structure. I don't know if you noticed. But let's talk about what we've been watching. I want to talk about the hot new release on Netflix that came out yesterday, which was Army of the Dead.
Have you watched it?
Yes.
Well, I hope you've watched it, or you're just going to vamp on it.
I've watched all 2.5 hours of it, which in typical Zack Snyder fare is at least an hour too long. But that's okay.
Is it because of all the slow-mo?
No, it's actually kind of, I quite liked it. There's been quite a lot of harsh criticism around, like, it's been really mixed, I think it's fair to say. Some people have enjoyed it for what it is, some people have been very down on it. I've been reading up some of the reviews and stuff. You know, most of the proper critics are giving it, like, you know, middle 3 out of 5s and 7 out of 10s and stuff like that. And I think for the most part that's pretty fair. He does some stuff though. I don't know how much you like your zombie movies, Rob. I know you don't watch the many movies.
No.
Have you seen Snyder's Dawn of the Dead?
No.
Okay, that's a great movie, by the way. I highly recommend that. But it's really tight and moves because it's an adaptation as well, because it's a remake. It has, you know, a form to follow, so I guess he couldn't be too self-indulgent. Whereas this one, he does some stuff taking zombies in a different direction, and in a way it feels almost like you won't understand this as this reference, but it feels a bit like a spiritual successor to Day of the Dead, which is the third Romero film. He already remade Dawn of the Dead, the second Romero movie, but this feels almost like a sequel to Day, due to the kind of lead zombie antagonist, and I won't go into more about that because it's big spoilers, but
these zombies aren't just walking brain-dead brain munchers, are they?
I really don't want to go into it too much. They do stuff like Romero did with Land of the Dead, which was to develop kind of the zombie mythos, and he does do his own thing with it. And honestly, the lead zombie protagonist is definitely the coolest character in this thing. I was actually rooting for him. Like, I was rooting for the villain of the piece, because he's not really a villain. In honesty, it's about survival. So yeah, it's actually quite cool. They do a lot with the zombie, a lot more than you'd expect, and that's not worked for everyone. Some people do just want brain dead, you know, conventional zombie fare, and that isn't what we've got with this. The problem I had with it was that the human characters are pretty one note, underdeveloped. There's not a lot of them you're like really rooting for. And like I ended up really siding with Zombie Guy, and you know, he was definitely the best thing in it. But there's some very cool moments, good set pieces, some good ideas. Great, I really like, you know, his style for this. It's very bubblegum, gory, over the top, cartoony. It feels very video gamey, Rob. Like I was watching this thinking it was like the Dead Rising games, you know, Frank West.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's got a huge amount of Dead Rising to it. One guy, his like signature weapon is like one of those big circular saw blades that they'd use to like cut open cars. That's what he goes around with, killing zombies with. And I mean, that's his whole thing. That's his whole character. And it's like there's some stuff like that.
Every 40 minutes, does he have to give Zombrex to his definitely not infected daughter?
Do you know what? Something like that would have actually probably made this movie better. It's like, because there is a daughter character in this, and she is insufferably annoying. She's
Maybe
just
just don't give her the meds and kill her then.
she's really irritating, the daughter in this. But I dug it. I dug it. It's like I turned to
Okay.
the wife. Me and the wife watched it on our new couch. We got a new sofa, power recliner. We feel, it's so indulgently luxurious. I'm using it thinking, oh man, this is wrong, but I love it. I just feel like some fancy boy going back and forward without even trying. It's amazing. But anyway, yeah, we watched it together on our power reclining sofa and turned to her afterwards. And it was like, yeah, yeah. Didn't feel like we'd waste 2.5 hours. It moved along. It's not. It doesn't feel bloated, but it does feel like there's unnecessary stuff in it. But I had a good time.
It's definitely a film I want to watch.
Check it out.
I just
Yeah,
haven't
why
got
not?
round to it. Like this week, I finally finished Line of Duty.
Ooh.
That was a disappointing finale.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Should
there
still
was no
avoid
kind
spoilers,
of
but yeah, it was.
like
So it goes out with a bit of a whimper instead of a bang, doesn't it? Like it.
yeah.
I guess they felt the question is, are they coming back? And if they're not, they kind of need to give it a conclusion of sorts. And they do get the characters all into a place that makes sense as an ending. But it sort of doesn't leave anything to hook you in, which is what they've always done before. So
I think maybe they had the question mark of if they're coming back. The guy that was supposedly revealed as H. I mean, at this point, it was spoiled for me before I even
don't spoil it.
started Line of
Don't spoil
Duty.
it.
But I won't spoil it. But the guy that I knew was supposedly the big bad guy the whole way through, he was a bit like there wasn't much to him, and even when he shed that mask, it still there wasn't much to him. It just makes little
So
sense.
there is what I think is really weird. So James Nesbitt is introduced via pictures
Yes,
as a potential big villain, right?
he's
And
a
we
middlingly famous English actor. Really,
he's would be the most famous English actor in it, right? With that,
yeah.
which is weird that he then doesn't show up. So the only thing I can think of is they're leaving that open to his return, for him to come into the show properly in a subsequent season.
Oh, the buddies they found
They're
in.
not. No,
They're not.
it'd be so easy to say, wouldn't it, that it's not him.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I can think, because it seems so weird to go out on that character, because they've run out of other supporting characters and cast that have been in the
Who's
show.
free? James Nesbitt.
Well, I just think he would be brilliant. He would be
Mm.
magnetic and amazing as as a character in it. And unless he's just a big fan and they went to him and went, "Can we use your face?"
Cameo,
I
yeah.
mean, it's this weird
People have
cameo.
done that. Like, I forget the name. Ed Sheeran did that for Game of Thrones. He was a big fan, so he
Happens.
wanted to be a cameo. It could be
Yeah.
Nesbitt turned around and said, "Look, the show's fucking brilliant. Put me in it. I can be a bad
Could
guy."
be he could
Fine.
have worked with the writer creator before. They could be
Yeah.
mates. Being a British actor, the creator's obviously British. They may have crossed. But yeah, there's a bunch of things there. I don't know much more about that, but I'm just hoping there's more, and I'm hoping this ends up being kind of like a setup season almost, like,
Yeah.
because there's still a bunch of like plot arcs they could deal with, to do with addiction, again without spoilers, to do with family, and a strange family, again without spoilers, and then still to deal with corruption, right at the top, and what happens with this person who's now in forced retirement, and
There's clearly a person like who is reasonably high up in the police outside of AC-12, the anti-corruption unit. Clearly, they are bent.
well, not
They are
not relatively high up. He is the most senior police officer
exactly.
in the country, and it's like,
He's played by someone who was a bad guy in another popular network
again,
drama.
very recognizable face, yes.
So the fact that he's just been sort of cameoed through it makes no sense to
He
me.
had a bigger role in previous seasons, didn't he?
In season one, he had a bigger role because of Arnott, and how Arnott became part
That was
of
it.
anti-corruption. But yeah, I've enjoyed my time with Line of Duty. The kind of one season and done big like corruption storylines that they've worn a little thin. I wouldn't mind a shorter season of longer episodes. So closer
Interesting.
to hour 90-minute, 2 hour episodes, almost mini feature films, but only like four of them, because it would give more time to maybe hit some more notes rather than just going everything is tied to this massive conspiracy. There are just some policemen in
I
this universe who will just be a bit shady.
I really liked the central corruption angle in this one with the woman policewoman and Kate being there in that unit, but not embedded, but just she'd quit and like that's where she was. I
Yeah.
liked that. I liked she was very very good actor.
Mm.
But yeah, when things started to come at the end and they like let's bring in the bigger plot stuff, let's do all that. That's when it kind of started to fall down a bit, I think, and it became
Yeah.
less compelling. But yeah, it's hard to keep one upping yourself. He's setting that bar
Exactly.
higher every. You can't keep surpassing that standard. I mean, he's. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you sustain it. So maybe this is he just goes draw the line. Well, I can't. It's not as good as what I've done before. Maybe I should stop. So it wouldn't be a bad time to bow out unless you've got a real winner. But obviously, the BBC knows this is one of the most popular things they've ever made. So the money's there, and they're going to be pushing for more. I mean, it's they're a business, to some degree, though
I
it's an odd
can
structure. But
I can see them doing one more season. Just to sort of because of the furore around this finale, I reckon they'll do one more to try and tie it off, and I think that's when like the really high up character I reckon would get taken down. I would hope. I think another 5 seasons. No, I'm done.
yeah, I'd definitely
You
be up
know,
for. I'd be up for one more. Yeah,
yeah, that ties it off. Maybe even a death of a main character to add like gravitas. Maybe not a main character, but a higher up or someone like that. But yeah, it's still a good show. I would recommend it to literally everyone because it is thoroughly enjoyable.
I
But
agree. I hadn't thought of that. Some of the someone in the main three, at least one of them needs to die. I do agree. That would be huge in a
who
final
would you
season.
pick?
They've all got reasons to go, haven't they, and to stay. I
Actually,
I
sorry, I'm going to a complete tangent away. The one thing I really like that they haven't done is that Arnott and Fleming haven't had a fling.
Yeah, because she knows he's a philandering piece of shit. He can't keep his dick in his trousers to save his life. That boy. He literally shags any pretty witness that he can get his hands on. He's terrible.
Yes,
He's terrible.
yes, but I just like the fact that inevitably writers will always look at their one male, one female
Yeah.
main characters and go, well, clearly they need to bang. No, they've turned around and had them just be colleagues and friends, which I think is a really, really good decision that they've kept that angle out of it. I think that was perfectly chosen.
I reckon Kate's also worried about STDs. Pretty sure at this point with him, he's just a he's
Fire
just
hydrant of Purell. It's fine.
he's just uncontrollable. That boy. Now he's got back pain. I guess that's putting him off a bit. But like Christ, just
Well, we
anything with
see that it puts him off completely.
yeah, that's just unreal. Right, so let's get back on. Let's get back on topic a little bit more. So I've been started reading a brand new book, and it's very very good. Now I wouldn't say a big fan, but I really respect Jason Schreier's work, formerly of Kotaku and now at Bloomberg. He's also written a couple of books. He just brought out a new book. His first book, Blood, Sweat and Pixels, I highly recommend. From a couple of years ago, really, really good about sort of indie development and just game development in general now. And now he's back with a new one, a follow up, Press Reset. Let's try that again. Press Reset, Ruin and Recovery.
Oh, things you're going to have to leave that in the edit
I'm
now.
not going to take that out. No, not at all.
Good.
And this is a bit different, right? So he's already looked at what goes into making a video game with Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, which is a fantastically interesting book. It's written in a very sort of easy to digest way. So it's not like you have to be a big insider or know lots of knowledge or have pre-knowledge. You can really get into it, and basically he embedded with various studios and tells their very personal stories. And he does the same thing with Press Reset, which is much more about though the business of games and how ruthless and harsh it is to try and make a game. As a developer, and then from the publishing side of things, how it is a business. It is money driven. It is performance driven, and I've not finished it yet. I'm like a couple of stories in, as it were, because again, each chapter is broken down, looking at a different either developer or individual. And it's interesting because it's not just like the little guys that fail and struggle and have to and come back from ruin and stuff. It's everyone in this industry, and it kind of makes you realize it's really a shit place to work. And I had my time on the inside, and I can back that up. It is a very, very cutthroat place to work. And while it appeals to a lot of people, because it is cool, no doubt, it is very much like you are only as good as your last hit. And if you can't sustain hit after hit after hit, you're done. Like, and when I say you're done, I mean whole studios are done. Whole developers gone in the blink of an eye, basically. And yeah, I'm currently in the chapter talking about Irrational, the developers of Bioshock and Bioshock Infinite, and what they went through with Ken Levine, and stuff like that, and his style of leadership, which sounds like hell, because it's, guess what, they don't get him to actually get him on record. They get all the people that work for him on record, and he basically a pressure cooker, basically. Sounded like just 7-day crunch to make Bioshock and stuff like that. Just the worst. Just the
Makes me
worst.
like Bioshock less, and I love Bioshock.
But famously, everybody kind of who's on the inside of the game knows a bit about the trouble they had with Infinite and what that meant for Irrational and how that's gone now. But this is this chapter is the story of what led to that, and it's absolutely fascinating. I'm listening to the audiobook version because for whatever reason the book isn't actually out yet in the UK. It's not going to be out until next month, even though it's out in the US. Don't really understand that in this 21st century, but fine. But the audiobook is, so I'm enjoying that, and it's pretty well read, and I do recommend it if you're interested in the how the sausage is made, the struggles, the nightmarish struggles and tribulations that people go through to make the art, make the entertainment that we love. I do recommend checking out both of Schreier's books. They're really accessible, easy to read, easy to get into, and it's good to know a bit about how these things come about. They don't just appear fully formed. So I do really, really recommend it. Rob, I recommend it to you. I recommend it to everybody. It's
I've got a
fascinating.
couple of credits on Audible actually that I haven't redeemed, so I may take you up on that.
Both of it, I would say it would be good to start with Blood, Sweat, and Pixels because it kind of works as a companion piece. It takes you through that. That's more about the creative process, and this more is about the reality of the business. So I think they work really nicely together. And it's not. This one isn't all about doom and gloom. It's a lot about how that you fail and this, but you can pick yourself back up again and you can come back in as an indie or as a new there's more ways than ever to produce games right now with crowdfunding and Patreons and all of that. So there are ways for these guys that have struggled in the developer publisher model to break out from that, and it does draw attention to that as well. So it isn't just about all these big famous developers that have been crushed by greedy publishers. So yeah, it's really, really good. I highly recommend it.
Okay. Something I'm quite excited about at the moment, I'm currently waiting for delivery of a Kickstarted board game. Which I know this is a video game channel, but
Fine.
you've talked about TV and books. I'm going to talk
Always.
about the other medium that I am passionate about, and that is designer board games. So this one is one called Nemesis, and it is essentially the Alien movies in a board game.
I thought you hadn't seen the Alien movies.
I know of the Alien movies. Swear to God, this man. You are a crew of people, up to I think about 5 or 6 players max. I think you wake up from cryosleep and you have to find out why the spaceship you're on is not working anymore. What's going on? As you move around the ship, you make noise. The more noise you make to try and fix engines or check the destination coordinates or make sure player 2 dies, that sort of thing, you generate this noise and aliens will start trying to hunt you. You can get infected with their equivalent of chest bursters, all that sort of thing. It's absolutely brilliant. It is one of my favourite board games of all time, and I will be strapping Ben down to play it at some point because I think he would really, really enjoy it.
It's cooperative.
It is, ish.
Right.
It's you against the board, or the team of players against the board, but each player has two objectives that they choose from the first time an alien appears: their personal objective or their corporate objective. And
Yeah.
these things can
Yeah.
be that the ship must survive. You must get to Earth. Player two needs to die.
I'm gonna be
You
Burke.
know,
I want to be Burke, the corporate
it's
stooge from the Alien movies, which you wouldn't understand because you've not seen them.
no.
But he's all about getting a xenomorph right to the
Mm.
company, right? And he even tries to infect Ripley and Newt. She's the little girl character with like a face buster, face hugger, well, it's face hugger that results in a chest burster. God, I'm letting myself down here. And he tries to get them infected by like putting one in the room they're sleeping in, and he all he cares about is getting a sample of it
Yeah.
back to the company. And I want to be that guy.
Those
Yeah.
objectives do exist. You can't
Awesome.
outright attack player two. You can't say, well, player two needs to die. Well, I'm just going to shoot them. You have to either shut a door, locking them in with an alien,
Nice.
or enforce that they stay on the ship that's about to explode and you escape in an escape pod. Stuff like that. You have to political your way into them dying.
It's good.
All
I'm
of these
down.
games, every one of Nemesis that I've ever played has been super narrative. They make their own stories because they inevitably get super close and super clutch. Like, things never go to plan. So there are 3 different alien species that you can play against. There's the kind of the typical ones that are basically aliens from Alien. They have a
Xenomorphs.
passing resemblance as well, the xenomorphs, yeah. There's the carnomorphs that they mutate and they grow stronger the more they eat, which is interesting. And there's a third one where there's actually only one alien on the ship. The others are psychic illusions,
Oh, that's cool.
and you have to find the real one. I've not played against them yet, but my friends, I'm going to shout out Adam and Molly here, because I know some of my friend group do listen and watch this. Adam and Molly, they have this, and they're the reason why I backed a copy of my own, because I want to play this game with as many people as possible, therefore I require my own copy.
Damn. This does sound like my kind of board game. I have nothing against board games. It's just the cost and time and investment, and
Yeah.
then being social, which are all things I'm against. So
Even this podcast, we're about a mile away from each other.
yeah, I don't want to see you in person, though, Rob. God, Jesus.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to two more quick things before we move into the news. Guess what? Mythic Quest. Have to mention it. I'm now caught up on season 2 so far. It's very good. Please watch it. That was all I'm going to say. And then secondly, and another book I've been reading, which is definitely related to the kind of gaming sci-fi stuff. So Andy Weir's new book, the author of The Martian. Really enjoying it. It's called Hail Mary. It's a lot better than Artemis, I think, which was the name of his second book. I really didn't like that. Didn't get on with that at all. It was a big departure from the style of The Martian. This is much more close to The Martian, first-person perspective, lots of good science, good concepts. But yeah, it takes that lone astronaut concept and takes it in a very different direction. And I'm not going to do any spoilers, but I'm really enjoying the structure of it. My one criticism, this guy, the main character, is a scientist. He just did something so ridiculously stupid that it did pull me out of it a bit. And I was like, I can't imagine any scientist doing that. But okay, let's move on, and hope he doesn't kind of act completely out of character again. I tell me if I'm wrong. I told my brother about this, who is a scientist, and he's going to read the book and tell me if that is something a scientist would do in that situation, because it just stood out to me so much that I was like, oh my god, what? So yeah, that was.
I really want to know what they did now.
I'm happy to tell you after, but I don't want to spoil this for people that might.
We won't spoil it for the audience.
It's a really good book though, like for the most part. And I love it. I really want to know what happens and how the central problem is solved. Yeah, that moment, oh boy, it just made me stop. Like I was again listening to the audiobook, and I paused it and I was like, I just sat there for like 10 minutes going, what the actual fuck? Like seriously. But that was it. My last 2 shout outs. We'll get to the news. Rob, I think you're going to lead us off.
Indeed, I am. So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, DC have announced. I'm really excited for this. They have announced an animated movie, um, for with Warner Bros. Animation. It's for the Injustice storyline of DC Comics. I'm really hyped for this because we've had games for Injustice, obviously Injustice 1 and Injustice 2, funnily enough, and we've had the comic book collection, which I actually have a
There
few
are a
somewhere on my
lot.
shelves.
There are a lot of Injustice comics. A
I buy
lot.
the anthologies.
There's it blew my mind at the time when all that was happening. I was running a comic book shop in a previous life, and the first miniseries I think was a prequel that came out, like led to the first game. I said okay,
Yeah.
but since then they've been so popular. Like that thing just
They
kept going.
they took the narrative of the game because the game was wildly successful.
Yeah.
They took the narrative and went, all right, well, what would happen next? And they went with it. And it's really, really good. So the vague premise for people who haven't heard of Injustice is that the Joker makes a brilliant decision and kills Lois Lane and Superman's unborn child.
Oops.
Superman hears their heartbeats stop.
He doesn't take it
Yeah.
well.
No, he's a little bit upset, shall we say?
Tiny
So
bit.
upset he decides to kill the Joker, like rips his heart out. Yeah. Much to the shock of Batman, who is watching Superman rip him to pieces, almost literally. And Superman decides, well, you lot can't be fucking trusted to do what you should, so I will do it for you. And basically tries to take over the world.
If you were wondering where Snyder got his idea,
Yes, that is the Injustice storyline,
Basically.
tweaked into Darkseid a little bit,
yeah, a little bit, but
which is why I want to see Snyder's League 2 and League 3 because
Yeah.
they could
We're not
be
gonna, but
huge. We probably aren't, but it's why I would look forward to those movies so much because you would see that represented in the big screen, and with Cavill's acting quality, it would be amazing to see in real life. But Warner Bros. Animation, they are doing an animated version of this, and the DC animated films have always been pretty top notch.
yep,
They've always been solidly good.
better than their
So-
live action.
Yes,
Yeah.
by a long way. So I'm actually really excited for this. I don't think we have a defined like release date or anything like that, but soon it is. No, that's along Halloween.
No, I think
yeah.
what this has come from is there's it's like a special feature on a DVD release of a previous animated movie, and it's like a teaser for it. So I don't know. There's a lot of information for it yet.
No,
but
not right now.
Normally, there's not a huge amount of lead time on these when they announce it to release. It's usually within 6 months, 8 months, something like that. So no, it'd
I'm
be
gonna
good to
be-
see. It certainly elevates those games. Like, that was the thing that
Yeah.
impressed me because obviously before they did the Injustice games, they did Mortal Kombat versus DC, and that was just fun and silly. But then they decided to do Injustice, and they really the guys at NetherRealm, and they really were like, one of the strengths of all the modern NetherRealm games is the qualities of the stories they put into these fighting games, and it gets you invested in what you're doing in those games. It's really, really, really good. So I'm looking forward to it too. Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
might
keep
watch
an eye
this.
out for this.
Yeah, I might watch this.
I'm going to keep an eye out for this film. I'll be watching it the day it releases, without a shadow of a doubt. If it's a cinematic release, I'll go to the cinema for it.
It'll be home video. They don't.
Yeah, I reckon it'll be home video. I think all of
What
them
an
have
old
been.
way of calling that. I mean, home streaming, I guess, probably
Yeah.
be a better way to describe it than that. Straight to streaming. There you go. That's the term. Right. This is sort of like a non-bit of news as well, but to a certain group, it's very exciting. Deep Silver have finally confirmed that they have created a new free radical design to develop a remake, sequel, new installment, shall we say, in the Time Splitters universe. Now, Deep Silver picked up the IP for that when they picked up so much stuff, basically, from various defunct studios such as THQ, and hopefully this is going to be good. but we are a long way off. I mean, they put out a statement basically on their Twitter, saying they've been working on the plans to bring back Time Splitters franchise, and that they're setting up the new studio, being reformed basically by the people, Steve Ellis and David Doak, who were kind of behind it in the original case. So that's great that they've got those original alumni coming back, but this is like they're literally making the studio now. So don't expect Time Splitters for 3 or 4 years.
What I'm liking is the fact that they're turning round and they're doing this properly. They've waited until they've actually got some good idea. They're not just going, yeah, let's make a buck. You know, they're making a studio, they're doing this properly. So it should be good to get another Time Splitters game. And not Time Crisis, which is what I confused it with before this podcast began.
My memories of Time Splitters, I really like Time Splitters 2. And
Never played them.
So basically, I remember it being a really anarchic, fast-paced, crazy first-person shooter. And the whole thing, Time Splitters, you can probably guess, is that it was a lot of like mashing together different time periods, traveling through time, you know, crazy weapons, insane characters. A little bit ahead of its time, I think, yeah, pun intended. But I think it was a case of lots of really exciting ideas. What could that game look like on current hardware? It could look really flipping lovely. So they kind of existed before the standardization of first-person shooter controls on console. They kind of predate a lot of the standards we expect from, you know, shooter games now. They're in that place between GoldenEye and Halo where they kind of weren't quite there yet in controls. Okay. But I do have fond memories. They're not a lot of specific memories. I think the problem is because the milieu is so confused and mental on purpose, it doesn't necessarily stick with you because there's no single theme or idea or concept on display. I just remember them being fun. So
yeah,
I'm up for fun. Bring some more fun in 3 or 4 years' time.
Yeah, I was going to say in a while.
Yeah.
But that probably means that this game is being developed for next generation hardware.
What next generation?
I.e., this like Series X and PS5s.
Yes, no, 100%.
Rather than the Xbox Ones and PS4s, which that is a reason in itself to be excited. It's a big announcement for a release for the, I suppose, current gen really is the proper phrasing for it. Yeah. But yeah, these new consoles. So that's very good as well.
You got the next one?
Indeed, I'm up next. So we have a release date for Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, which I must admit I hadn't heard of until today. I'm not going to lie. It's coming to Netflix on July the 8th. What day of the week is that? I reckon it's a Friday. No, it's a Thursday. July the 8th. Is when this will come out. So we got a new trailer drop for it as well, which you can find on Twitter. And I think probably in our show notes there'll be a link to it as well if Ben's on top of his admin stuff, which he usually is. And we get to see Claire Redfield, Leon Kennedy, big names from the Resident Evil franchises, and they're coming back. And
it's a series, isn't it? It's not a movie.
Yeah, it's a series. So the storytelling for this should be better than just zombies, her umbrella. It'll probably devolve into that. That's my prediction, because most of them do. But this has some potential because it could be deeper stories, more meaningful impact, and more impactful stories as well. So this should be good.
Are you aware, Rob, of the Japanese / original name for the Resident Evil franchise?
No.
It might help you understand to a degree. And I think why this universe is so sort of crazy with the different mixtures of creatures. It was originally called Biohazard, and they renamed it when they brought it to the West, and they made it Resident Evil. So if you think about the name Biohazard, doesn't that make a lot more freaking sense for what we're now seeing in the Resident Evil, with Village, with werewolves and vampires, and
the T-virus didn't make Lady Dimitrescu. So funny that, yeah.
So if you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, that does track better, doesn't it? Like as a title, but they never. It was a thing back then, wasn't it? Like renaming stuff for different cultures, and they're not sure it was going to work or play in those. They don't really do that anymore. But I guess they got stuck. Resident Evil was a brand with the films and everything. It's so strong now that they can't retroactively rename it. But it's a sort of a
Yeah.
shame, isn't it? Because I think Biohazard is a much better name. That
And I
makes a
think
lot
that's
more
why
sense for the product.
wasn't there like a version of Resident Evil 7 that was Resident Evil 7
I
Biohazard?
think I think it was used as a subtitle in something. Yeah, I think Resident Evil
I
Seven
would
might be
really
right.
like
Yeah.
it. I really would really enjoy it if the Japanese release of that was Biohazard 7 Resident Evil.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. I mean, this trailer looked. Excuse me, I've got hay fever today, so I keep scratching my nose. This trailer looked fine. I watched it. I didn't think it was the most thrilling thing I've seen. I mean, the problem is the Resident Evil Biohazard games are not exactly cohesive stories. So I'm very curious to see if they try to tell a kind of Western, conventional, easy to follow narrative, because that wouldn't be Resident Evil. So I don't really know.
You can understand they've done it wrong.
Yeah, I'm a bit like, what is this going to be? Because yeah, I don't know. Leon is not exactly my favorite character either. He is the wettest wet boy ever. So I don't know. Claire's pretty cool. Ada Wong's cool. Chris Redfield's cool. But I'm hoping there's some Wesker in there. Wesker's a great villain, but I don't know where
You,
this falls in the timeline.
with Resident Evil, you
So
have to have a bit of Wesker
I mean, even
somewhere.
if it's like a Wesker spin-off child slash something, I don't know, clone, like
Yeah,
fine. But yeah, if there's no Wesker, I'm gonna be demanding my money back, basically. But who knows? Who knows? It's interesting because it's one of these Netflix properties developing animation off of video game franchises, of which there are a growing amount. But we're going to be talking about Netflix
indeed.
in a bit later on here as well. So yeah, okay, cool. I'll probably check it out. I'll probably at least watch one episode, see what it's
Yeah,
like.
I'll probably watch it as well. To be fair, because I kind of like the old school Resident Evil concept of there is a zombie apocalypse go. I'm lost when it comes to Resident Evil 7 and 8 and like Biohazard Village. I'm completely lost why those exist as a thing in a zombie apocalypse. Why there's suddenly a 8 foot tall vampire lady who really likes this guy called Ethan. Like I just don't get it. But it's probably just because I haven't looked into it enough.
Oh,
Um,
there are whole like YouTube channels dedicated to explaining Resident Evil, mate.
I assumed.
So look them up. They're entertaining in their attempt. It's almost as fun as trying to explain Metal Gear, and actually try and make that into something that's followable. Good luck. But okay, next news story. Kind of interesting because we touched on XCOM last week. We talked about XCOM a little bit, didn't we? And
I think
Firaxis, and
so.
it kind of got me thinking, what's going on with those guys? We've not heard anything for a while, and actually, all of a sudden, we've heard something, and they're going to be announcing several new games this year. Wow.
Several.
There's all the specifics for you. Calm down, calm down. And it's been a while since we've had an XCOM game. We had
Mm.
that strange. I've forgotten the title of it. There was a strange like little spin-off one
Oh,
that happened on PC after XCOM 2. But that was a good year plus ago. So I think it was prior to the pandemic. So it's definitely a while back. So I'm intrigued to see, do we get an XCOM 3 this year? I would like an XCOM 3. Other things from Firaxis. We're getting a new Civ announced. They've just finished with all the DLC for Civ 6. That's now fully done and complete. So time for a Civ 7. Obviously, maybe it's going to be a little while off, but at least
hey,
announce
they
it.
said reveal.
Yeah.
They never said a
No.
release.
No. So I think it's time to hear about some stuff out for Axis. I'm
Yeah.
always interested to see what they're doing. I think they're a consistently top tier developer for PC games, so I'm always pretty hyped to see what kind of strategy, action strategy, turn based, whatever comes out. I mean, it'd be also cool to see something new. Obviously, they've not done anything particularly new for a while now since picking up XCOM, so bring it on. I'm up for some more.
I'm always up for more XCOM. I haven't played XCOM 2 all the way through. I should. I think grief over lost squad members
It's
may have
hard,
killed
yeah.
me. Yeah.
It's painfully hard, isn't it, when you're because it's just like save scum that the life out of that. Just I will get through this mission. I will get through this mission, and no one dies. I can't lose any more of my OG team. And it's like, yeah, yeah. I know your pain. They're really good games, though. Really, really,
Oh,
really good games.
they are punishingly difficult, but I will recommend them to literally everyone.
It's kind of like, yeah, if you love your board games like you do. I mean, there's
Yeah.
got a distinct board game vibe to them, don't they? The XCOM
Hmm.
games. So, next story to you, Rob.
Indeed, it's our weekly segment. I can hear Cameron screaming from here. Is news about Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red. And in news of teaming up, all of their mini lawsuits have absorbed themselves into one gigantic lawsuit.
They've Super Saiyaned lawsuit, and they've
Basically,
merged.
it's the Power Ranger Zords.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah, that's what's happened. They've all done like the Transformer thing and suddenly become this big
Giant lawyer.
mega lawsuit.
Mega
Yeah.
lawyer.
Mega lawyer. That's exactly what happened.
Johnny Silverhand fighting Mega lawyer.
I would love that if that happens in a DLC, because obviously their DLC for Cyberpunk is coming out reasonably soon-ish, apparently.
Yeah,
Soon-ish,
sure.
PM.
I believe it. Believe it when I see it.
And there's just Johnny Silverhand punching a lawyer. That would just.
I just got this image of them, right? So I've got this image at the CG Project Red. Right, so the DLC's done, guys. Okay, brilliant. Pop it into the game. Big red screen. Broken. Okay, take the DLC out and let's hold on to that for a bit.
So the thing with this mega lawsuit, is that it's not fans who are disgruntled enough, but apparently weren't disgruntled enough to get their money back, because there was an astonishingly small amount of refunds given, which boggles my mind.
Just bitching on the internet.
Yeah.
If you're really pissed, follow through, for Christ's sake.
Exactly.
Jesus.
And it's their investors, because they are quite frustrated how much of a dive CDPR's stock took. Basically, we lost money, we're not happy. This could spell long-term trouble for them, to be fair. This could be difficult. So it's something that they're definitely going to have to deal with. It's still open for more people to bolt them onto this Zord lawsuit. Basically, it's open. Anyone who has evidence and has the same complaint can join, and they can conglomerate together. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this gets handled. At some point, there's going to be some sort of hearing on it, and that's
if it makes it to court. I mean, I feel like it's more likely to get settled before then, isn't it? But
we would hope.
We'll see. So that's the newest Cyberpunk news.
Cameron can stop screaming into a pillow now.
I know he's been missing Cyberpunk news, so we had to make sure we brought it back.
Oh yeah.
I'll move on to some more pleasant news. So, cool news. We've got a confirmation of the date for Summer Game Fest, like happened last year. The Jeff Keighley-led It's Not E3, but it kind of is E3 show. And it's going to be landing on...
Catchy name.
Yeah, I mean, I coined that. That's what I did. It's going to be on Thursday, June the 10th, which is not far off. We can expect a whole bunch of world-exclusive game announcement-y type thing, as Jeff Keighley often does with his shows. World premiere. And all that sort of stuff. So I'm pretty hyped for that. It's weird, right? I would take the time off work, wherever I was working, for that week of E3 every single year, and I would not sleep. I would watch every games conference live. I would live tweet them. I would then do write-ups and special podcasts and videos, do the whole shebang. Last year has killed that, I think, completely for me. I'm now not really feeling hyped at all. I'm kind of just like, if I'm about, I'll watch it. If not, I'll catch up on it later. I am looking forward to seeing what comes out of this. I mean, the other thing is Weezer is going to be performing on this stream. Cool.
Okay.
I mean, sweet. I don't know why that's even a headline. Why that's even announced. The weird thing about that is that the draw for people? I mean, is that gonna make you more likely to tune in to watch a show about game announcements?
No,
He's going to
make me want to watch it the next day and fast forward through.
It's such a weird. It makes sense for a physical show, right? Like in an auditorium. Like with the press there, they often do musical stuff and things like that to get people hyped and excited. And press used to famously get all kinds of random jollies in the video game industry. But on a stream, why even spend the money to get Weezer? I think it's because they want to keep that feel, because they know this year is probably going to be the last year, we hope, of it being different. So I think they're E3's not... Rob, I'm going to put it down now. E3's not coming back as a physical show. No, because the developers and the publishers, and they all realise they don't need it. So why spend that ridiculous amount of money required to do it? Like and you'd have a booth there. It would cost the publishers hundreds of thousands of dollars, and if they don't need to spend that money to still get the word out about their game, why on earth would they go back? I think E3 in its conventional sense is done. Like really gone. So E3 is doing like a app thing this year, but we've got Game Fest, we've got Xbox and Bethesda announced that they're doing their own thing together. I think EA's doing its own thing, but they'd been separate from E3 for a while now anyway. So it's like they're all going to just do their own things, you know, as well as this one, which is obviously going to be more kind of cross-publisher. And Keighley being Keighley has these amazing connections throughout the industry. He will get some big announcements, but it'll also be a lot of indie stuff, a lot of triple indie games, you know, giving them a bit of time in the sun, as it were, showing off those sort of gameplay and stuff like that. And I'm hyped to see what comes out of it. I'm always hyped for the June months and stuff for E3 and that sort of announcement window. But yeah, I think the days of E3 are done, like properly done. Because it's not, they tried in the recent years to transition to a consumer facing show as well, like letting in the public, like Gamescom does, like PAX. But they were really expensive tickets and the press didn't like it and the public didn't really have the same, like, it wasn't great for them because it wasn't designed that way. You know, it's quite a dry experience where a lot of meetings get held. It's not like a big festival experience like Gamescom is. I went to Gamescom in 2007. I'll always remember that. A fantastic experience that was.
I really want to go to Gamescom when that comes back.
Yeah, I mean, it moved it. It's now in Cologne, which is a much nicer city than Leipzig, which is where it was when I went. So yeah, I'd love to do it again. So maybe we'll pencil that in. Maybe have a look at that next year. But it's great but they need to be, you know, designed for consumers in mind, which Gamescom is. And when I went to Gamescom in 2007, they had a press day before the public were let in. So they had a whole day where the public weren't let in, and that was cool because you got a chance to check out all the games without the masses, the throng of hundreds of thousands of fans. And you know, having that little press lanyard, it did feel pretty good. I've got to say, it did feel good. But
press lanyards as well.
oh yeah, had the whole thing. But then there was still like a lot of meetings in it. But it's a very different beast now. I mean, it's from what I've heard, Gamescom has gone much more like a PAX now, but just on a much bigger scale. It's ridiculously massive now. So it's the biggest show. It's the biggest game show on the planet. Like much bigger than E3, much bigger than the PAX is. So I don't know what any of that looks like. Even next year, am I going to want to be around that many random strangers?
Yes.
Like, I just don't know. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it.
I will happily go in your place then. And I will do live streamed coverage or whatever from Gamescom. That is absolutely fine. I will happily do that. I'm excited for conventions to return. Obviously, I'm not vaccinated yet with everything that's going on in the world, but I fully intend on getting a vaccine when I'm up my age group. I'm younger than Ben, so I have not been eligible for mine as of yet. So it's as soon as I can, I'll have it. I'm excited for conventions. MCM is coming back later this year. I will be getting tickets for that. I will be going. I will be too poor to spend any money, but I don't care. I will be there.
You going to cosplay?
No.
Good. Let's move on. I said good. Let's move on. Right, next story.
Next story is a new crop of games are coming to Game Pass. Hooray!
Always fun. It's always a good part of the month. I always like hearing about this. What have we got?
So, on May 18th, you have SnowRunner joining.
So that's come and gone.
There's no runner like a SnowRunner.
What date is it today? It's May the 22nd, Rob. So we've got that.
We have Peggle 2, Plants vs. Zombies, Battle for Neighborville, Secret Neighbor, and The Wild at Heart, which was an ITV drama many years ago.
Don't think it's based on that, but be hilarious if it was.
Nothing to do with it. So yes, that's they're coming. They came day before yesterday. Yesterday, at time of recording, we had The Catch, Carp and Coarse Fishing.
Oh, finally!
And
we've got a mutual friend that loves fishing. I bet he's going to be all over that.
He will very much be enjoying that. I can see that now, and I'll just be going, okay, carp, yay. On May 25th, which is actually in the future, which I'm actually really looking forward to.
The future.
Maneater.
Yes, I reviewed Maneater. I had a great time.
Yes, that's why I'm looking forward to it.
Really good fun.
I saw it and it looked really good.
Stupid, silly good fun. And X Enhanced as well.
when I finished with the Mass Effect trilogy, I'm probably going to go on to Maneater. Or saying that, I'll get suckered right back into Destiny 2. I don't know why I'm lying. On May the 27th, then, to round out the month, we have Conan Exiles, Fusion Frenzy, Joyride Turbo, Mech Warrior 5,
See, now
Mercenaries.
that one caught my eye because I didn't even know that was coming to console. So when I saw that, because that's been out on PC for a while, and that's finally showing up in console, and I'm guessing going straight into Game Pass. Like quietly, they've just made
Yeah.
that port. So that's cool.
Slime Rancher, Solasta, Crown of the Magister. No idea what that's about, but it's got a cool name. And Spellforce 3 Soul Harvest. That's coming to PC.
Spellforce games I remember being pretty good as well. But yeah, for me, that out of that one, it's definitely the Mercenaries Mech Warrior game. Love a bit of giant robot on robot action, baby. Oh yeah, you know it.
Maneater. That's what I'm
Maneater,
interested in.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not for me. I mean, obviously, I played that.
You've got it. You've
I
played
played
it.
that
Yeah.
at launch,
So,
reviewed it, and
yeah.
honestly, it's the maddest thing. It's such a fucking brilliant game of like a cross between Deadliest Catch and Shark Week and all of these like pastiches, and oh, it's just so funny. It's just and it knows exactly what it is, and yeah, you'll have a great time. That's a perfect Game Pass game. Fusion Frenzy, I thought was the fun addition. Original Xbox launch title, party game, Fusion Frenzy. Finally on Game Pass. Yay!
Yeah.
But it's had a bunch of enhancements, so it looks nice now. So
With the good, there is of course the bad, unfortunately. So
bad.
we do have 6 games leaving Game Pass on May the 31st at the end of the month. Assetto Corsa, which I was convinced is a car brand.
It is. It's a racing game, so that would make sense.
That makes sense. Broforce, which sounds
Good game.
nightmarish.
Good game.
Okay. Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 Remix,
All right, come on,
and
Rob.
Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue.
Talk about your love of Kingdom Hearts. I'm sure you love Kingdom Hearts. You love your silly Final
Never
Fantasy games,
played.
and you like I thought you were a Disney boy.
I like Disney. I've never said I played Kingdom Hearts.
Wow, I am.
I
Quite
know
shocked.
of Kingdom Hearts because a friend of mine at university is incredibly invested in Kingdom Hearts.
People that are into Kingdom Hearts are like quite scary by their level of being into Kingdom Hearts. Like I don't know anybody that's just like, yeah, we're right. It's either I love and live Kingdom Hearts or I've never even played it. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground.
A bigger fan as I am of Destiny to Kingdom Hearts. That's the equivalent fan base thing.
Upsetting.
So it was quite interesting. We did our uni dissertation together. So
On
it was
Kingdom
quite
Hearts?
interesting learning. So no, on geology.
Oh,
because I studied that, clearly related to what I do now. We talked about it quite a lot. It was quite interesting to learn. But yes, they are unfortunately leaving Game Pass. So now is the time
Didn't
to.
you miss Void Bastards? You didn't say.
I'm sorry. Alphabetical order. What does Void Bastards begin with?
I thought you were finishing off then because you said they are now leaving. I thought you were because that's the one that I'm really sad
just
about.
let me do the bit.
Sorry. Hurry up,
So
man.
Kingdom Hearts HD. Oh,
Come on.
Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5, 2.5 Remix, and 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. They're leaving as well. Surviving Mars. That is also heading
Very
off from
good.
Cloud Console and PC.
Very good game. I own that. I've not been playing. If you like colony builders, it's one of the best. Very
And
good.
then, as Ben said, because I wanted to go in alphabetical order, as per the list I have in front of me, Void Bastards is leaving as well.
Yes,
See,
so Void
said we were the
Bastards.
bickering bros.
Yeah, we've got to stay on brand. Void Bastards is a first-person shooter run-based roguelite, and it's very good. Got a cool, cel-shaded art style. Really worth checking out if you hadn't had a go before the end of the month. Give it a go. That's one I'm thinking of. I don't own, and I'm thinking of actually buying before it leaves Game Pass and getting that discount because it's flipping awesome. Like it really, really is good. So out of that, I would say yeah, that and Surviving Mars are my two main picks from that list. If you've not checked them out yet, give them a go. Excellent, excellent games. Like really excellent.
But yeah, it's a good month. I'm mostly looking forward to Maneater more than anything.
He's a man eater.
There we go. Why don't you tell us about Codemasters?
I haven't got a lot to say other than this is good news because Codemasters were acquired by EA and they've often been one of my number one top favourite UK developers. Like they've made some of the best racing games ever, like with the Dirt series, Colin McRae, and for me personally, the F1 games, absolutely fantastic games. Obviously, we've got the first F1 game coming out under EA in July, and I will be reporting back thoroughly about if that's been raped to death by EA, because I'm concerned about that. But they
I'll
have
be
said,
I'll be
sorry,
interested to join the review for that one. I want to discuss that one with you.
if I'm crying, you'll know. Because but EA have come out and said, the EA CEO, have I got his name here in the story? I can't remember who he is. Andrew Wilson. Is that he
Oh,
said they are
Bucks
going
with
to
money bags.
Mr. Moneybags. They have said they are going to treat Cody's in the same way they've treated Respawn, which is basically leave them alone and just let them get on with what they do best. And
They have their
God,
brand, they have their identity, they do their thing. Just make us money.
I really hope that's true. I mean, EA have destroyed developers. Like, look at Dead Space. Like, honestly, look at what they did to those guys. I mean, it's like they buy developers in, bleed them dry. Look at Criterion now. You know, who are now working on Battlefield of all things. It's like these are the Need for Speed guys. These are the Burnout guys. What are you doing? Like, so I am praying that Cody's does not go in that way. And look, they've seen from Respawn with the success of Titanfall 2, with the amazing Jedi Falling Order, that if they are just left to do their thing, be creative, come out with these good games, that's going to make EA money. So I hope they just let Cody's do what Cody's does, you know, and just make incredible racing games. Like, let them carry on. So fingers crossed, that's what happens. Fingers, like, seriously crossed. I suspect they wouldn't have destroyed the newest F1 game because it's too soon. Like, they wouldn't have had an effect on it yet. But it would be the one that, like, next year's or the year after's. So we will see. Talking about this F1 game, I'm so excited. One the pre-order bonus thing or the deluxe edition thing I'm getting, I can't remember what it is, but I'm gonna get to have a teammate like from one of the classically awesome drivers from like history. I could have Ayrton Senna, I could have David Coulthard, Jenson Button on my team, mate. On my team. Oh, I'm so excited.
You're gonna choose.
I don't know. I really don't know because I kind of love them all for different reasons. So yeah, I'm that'll be me sitting at that screen, like when like you on Mass Effect, when you get one of those choices, and you're like, who do I pick? Who do I pick?
Just gotta press the right button.
Yeah, Anyway, trust me. Come July, that's all I'm going to be talking about. So,
lovely.
Save it until then.
Well, do you know what I'm going to be talking about?
I what you're always talking about, yeah? Go on.
Yeah, I rarely shut up about Destiny, and this week is no exception. I'm considering next time just showing up in a Destiny t-shirt for my correspondent role on this. So, after the beginning of the season and crossplay was accidentally enabled, they are now running a pilot for crossplay later on in this season of content. I'm just checking if we have an exact date. May 25th to the 27th. So that will throw players from Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, and Stadia together. No PvP. It's just strikes. So it's a very stable scenario where you aren't competitive or anything like that, which I think is a really good little playground for them to try this. I will definitely do a couple of strikes.
Well, you got to do 3, and you'll get an emblem.
Yes, you get a special emblem for taking part in their cross-play event, essentially. I think this is probably just them doing a tech test to make sure it's going to go smoothly come next season.
Well, what they said is you can't pick your friends. It's not like, you can pick who you're going into this with.
No.
So it's just going to be
It's
random.
just matchmaking.
Yeah, I think that's smart. Yeah, it's really clever.
Yeah.
And incentivizing it as well. I think that's genius. If people are playing Destiny are into Destiny, so you're going to get probably at least 3 strikes in this playlist out of everyone, and just to get their emblem. So that's going to give you a really wide. Sorry, an hour, not even that. Not the way I play a strike, mate. Half an hour probably for that. 30 minutes.
Yes, but then I have to spend 20 minutes rezzing you.
No. Not if you all do it. The point is that everybody should try and speedrun strikes. That's the way to do it. You got to get as fast as you can, get to the end boss. That's the rule. Only mad people like you, Rob, don't do it that way. Shocking.
I'm sorry, when we were doing strikes in Season of the Splicer, who was the only one that rushed ahead and died? Oh wait, was it just you?
Just left me hanging, boys. Just left me hanging. Bad teammates. Bad, bad,
But
bad.
yeah, I think putting an emblem behind it, that's enough an incentive. 'Cause it's actually quite a nice emblem. I quite like it.
Yeah.
It's enough for the collectors to want to go, yes, I want that emblem, but it's not like a gun or something like that that would be meta changing. It's very a neutral thing. This is the perfect pitch for them to be able to get engagement enough and not at the same time. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be good fun. I will definitely be giving it a go.
Yeah, it's like I'm planning on getting way, like you said, way back into D2 when we've done with Mass Effect and
Vault of
getting into
Glass
this
launches
season.
today.
As we're recording, it's coming
And
out, isn't it? Yeah.
no, not as we're recording.
Well,
It's at 6 p.m. tonight, I
you know,
believe, or 5 p.m. tonight.
at the reset time.
Yeah, at reset, Vault will open, and yeah, the world's first race will begin, and I am excited. I'm sad that I am not going to be a part of it, but I'm actually seeing friends today, which is much more exciting to me.
Final news story, and that's going to kind of segue us a bit into our topic. Various reports have popped up over the last 24 hours, indicating that Netflix are looking to hire veteran gaming industry execs. Now, why would they be doing this? The only reason, surely, would be that Netflix are considering a proper move into making video games. And why not? I mean, they produce a crap ton of really good TV and films. Why not try and make some video games as well, maybe connected to your properties? So beyond that story, of which there really isn't much more factual information to convey, I want to open this up to Rob and to myself and have a little talk about what Netflix properties will be at the top of your list to see perhaps adapted into a video game.
Yeah, because this got us wondering. So, well, actually, what would we want from this? You kind of came first out. I'll link back to what we were talking about right at the top of the show. You were quite quick to put Army of the Dead on that.
Yeah, just because it already feels like watching the movie felt like watching a video game at times. It was so. That's the only thing that would make me think it wouldn't happen because games like that already exist. If you're talking about like a squad of guys fighting off of zombies, then you've only got to look at the World War Z game. You've got to look at Back for Blood, Left 4 Dead. So that already exists. And then if you're looking at like single player kind of like playground games, then they literally did a Vegas style ripoff in the Dead Rising series, where they did the mall in the first game, but I think in the second game they went to basically a Vegas setting, and it did dudes versus zombies, and honestly, this film has got so many kind of like comedic touch points that felt very, very Dead Rising-y. So I think that would be easy and obvious sort of thing to take that property, but whether or not there's going to be a desire to play it, like from that side of things, and like would they want to make it when those games already exist? I mean, it's been a little while since Dead Rising sort of happened, so I don't know, maybe, but it wouldn't be the most exciting property. It certainly wouldn't do necessarily the most interesting things.
The property that I think I'd go for is Castlevania. As obviously, we've had a lot of Castlevania games, right? The ethos is hugely well established at this point. But the Netflix adaptation of Castlevania, their animated show for it, was amazing. It's had rave reviews pretty much everywhere. I've not watched all of it, but it's had rave reviews everywhere. A mutual colleague of ours both adores the show. So it's definitely something I think they could do something very interesting with perhaps a new story, a new direction, adaptation of the show, perhaps. I don't know. But getting another Castlevania game could be a lot of fun.
So obviously, classic Castlevania is 2D side-on scrolly Metroidvania, if you like, which is a bit unfair.
That's where the Vania comes in Metroidvania.
Yeah, exactly. So then they had the 360 era third-person action Castlevania games with Robert Carlyle, if you remember those, doing voice work. They took it in a different direction. They were good.
I played those.
And I think so. What kind of style would you want to see out of this? Because obviously, what you've talked about, what makes the Castlevania show so good is the writing, right? And it's been written by Warren Ellis, comic book scribe, fantastic, one of the best ever comic book writers, an incredible writer in general. And then he's brought some of that genius to this show, so I'd want him involved heavily in the game. But what games, like, that's the question. Like, Netflix, they're going to make games. Are they just going to go down the Telltale route? Are they just going to do more Bandersnatch and like narrative choice based stuff? Because it seems obvious, but it seems quite dull at the same time.
That's exactly where I'd want this to go in two directions. I would be happy, although not a fan, of it going down the gaming novel route, like the Telltale route, because that's hugely successful and hugely popular for those people who enjoy those games. I'm not one of them. I just don't have the patience for them. That's fine. But I know a friend of mine, he is a massive fan. He played every Telltale game.
Oh, even Game of
You
Thrones.
know,
God, that was garbage.
I don't know. He was never into Game of Thrones, so I don't think he played that one.
Good.
But that could be a very good direction to go in. Myself, I would want something more action related, where I can swing around with the whip and the sword and do the damage and the fun, rather than quick time event my way through a very, very long movie. But that's my preference,
So what
rather
about
than
if
what I
you
think they do better at.
if you put a bit more game in there and you ended up in a kind of Quantic Dream realm? So Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, what's it called? The last one they did with the robots. I can't remember what it was. But that kind of game. So there's more going on than
Detroit
in a Telltale
something
game.
or other,
Detroit,
wasn't it?
Become Human.
Yes, that's it.
Robosex.
I think that was a weird subtitle to add.
Well, that's what I remember it for. That's a bit more gamey, but still very much about the story. And I mean, love him or hate him, David Cage certainly has
David
a
Cage.
style of doing things, doesn't he? He thinks of himself as an auteur. He has that directorial vision. So maybe more like that. Or is that not enough for you?
I'd want
more.
the action in there. I'd want that hacker slasher type of combat. Closer to the action RPG ones where we had with Robert Carlyle. Back to those where you had the actual combat in there. But I'm open to it.
So
see where they go.
A couple we've added to the list. I've added to the list. Already have games. Recent games, Stranger Things and Cobra Kai, both of which have got kind of low-level indie, maybe a little bit, but licensed indie almost games. Cobra Kai's got a pretty basic brawler. Stranger Things has got sort of that isometric, top-down, old-school pixel art RPG, but it's basically just retells the story of, I think, season 3 of the show. I think there's definite potential in those properties. I think Stranger Things, what I would love would be a big, next gen, beautiful expansion of the universe. I wouldn't necessarily want to see more with the show's characters. I want to see stuff to do with original characters. I would love to see loads more in the Upside Down, blowing out that mythos, explaining more about what that is, maybe finding characters in there in some way. I would love to see that. What about you? Wouldn't that be cool, Rob? Something like that, really expanding all of that.
From what I know of Stranger Things, probably yes.
Have you not watched Stranger Things, Rob?
No.
Oh my god, man! I mean, come on, you would love it. You would love it. What are you doing?
I tried. I found it a bit inaccessible.
What? Even from the beginning? You started at the beginning.
Well, I'm not going to go. Oh, I know. I'm going to watch this show. I'll start at season 4.
Oh, I don't know with you.
I'm not
inaccessible though. It's about D&D and 80s mythos. It's super easy.
Enjoy it hugely. But the thing is, I want to give it another try. I was like this with Game of Thrones. It took me about 3 tries to actually enjoy Game of Thrones, and by the time I watched the first episode, I think I watched the first 3 in a row. By then I was hooked, and I think I need to do the same with Stranger Things. So I'm open to it. I want to go back to it. I just haven't. I know of the Upside Down. I know of the Demogorgon and stuff like that, and I know of 11. So going deeper into that could be quite good. I think also having a story represented that is completely separate to the characters we have in the show.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Barely acknowledges them.
I think it's important
take place at the same time or something like that. But
yeah,
I think it's quite cool.
In a mythos-heavy property, I don't see the point in focusing on an adaptation. I mean, Cobra Kai is a different beast, right? So Cobra Kai isn't mythos-heavy. It's much more about kids and learning to be karate people. And it's brilliant. It's amazing. That would actually be a harder game to do. I mean, sort of shy of just making a fighting game, right, or a brawler. I'm not really sure how you approach that, but all I know is I love that show, and the writing's incredible, the performances are very compelling, and I'm sure there is stuff you could do with it, but get greater creative minds than my own would be required to, I think, develop that. You put Warrior Nun on the list. I think that is a
I
flipping
just suggested
obvious.
it. We were going through Netflix adaptations, and
Yeah.
I've not seen Warrior Nun
Oh
yet.
fuck.
I queried it with you. I'm sorry, I've been watching Line of Duty.
It's fine.
Um,
You're right though. It would be. I mean, it's another one which is mythos heavy, but we've only had one season of it. There's going to be more. They're doing it. There was a great twist at the end of the first season. I actually watched the whole thing. It did have problems in the middle. Definitely had problems in the middle. But it's a cool concept. The idea is it sells itself. You know, warrior nuns. Yes. Like, it's just badass. You know, the whole thing is badass. And it would be, you know, you wouldn't need to follow the storyline because obviously you could do any period of time. You could go back throughout history of this group of nuns and this habit of nuns. I guess I don't know what they
no,
something.
no, the
I
habit
don't
is what
know.
they wear.
I won't deny. I don't know a lot of religious terminology describing
I
nuns.
can tell.
However, it would be cool, and like they've all got like various abilities. They've got, you know, all these powers and stuff, and you know they fight with swords and crossbows. And there's one nun that has a shotgun, and she's amazing. And it's just like there's so much you could do with that. There's so much fun you could have with that. Any type of game would work with that. I mean, obviously, action heavy, first person shooter could work. Third person action game could work. Open world game could work. Fighting game brawler could work. You know, there's absolutely loads you could do with Warrior Nun. So I'd be well down for that. That'd be cool.
One I put on the list is Nickelodeon property that they're doing a live action for, and that's the Avatar. We're not talking about James Cameron's weird blue people with the very long weird ponytails. We're talking about the airbenders and the earthbenders, the waterbenders and the firebenders. I grew up with Avatar and watching it on daytime TV or on Saturday morning cartoons. I love the show. It is a criminally underrated
Is it
animated
underrated?
show.
I feel like it gets quite well rated. Whenever,
Now it's got better props, but I think some people do still write it off as it's for kids. No, it's not. It has incredible sets of growth through it. It's one of the finest animated shows I think I've ever seen. Legend of Korra, its sequel, just as good.
have you played the Legend of Korra game?
Yes, I still have it on my console because you cannot download it anymore.
Oh, really? It's one of the ones they
The
pulled.
licensing ran out.
Oh, that's crazy.
So
But
I
that
still
was
possess it.
it wasn't that well regarded. I remember that, but it was a platinum
Which
joint,
never.
so
Yeah, I really
well
enjoyed
made.
it.
But
Um, I think there would be room to use the live action like looks and aesthetics and all of that to make an Avatar game. They can either follow the end of the live action story, which might be in the same continuity. We don't know yet. You know, there could be a lot of different scope they could do for a really story driven, character driven party game. I.e., like you have your party that you go around with to do things rather than a party game.
party.
Yeah, so I think that could be really interesting. Could have some really big storytelling moments in that.
I think it's again. I've actually watched some Avatar. I don't think I got out of the first season, but I have seen some enough to know.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
missing
it's good.
stuff.
No, I know it's good, but it's just like it's a huge investment of time. There's a lot.
Oh
of it.
yeah.
But I've definitely remember watching some of it and thinking, yeah, this is more than just a kid show. Definitely.
Tales of Ba Sing Se in that episode in season 2, I almost cry every time.
Okay.
Seriously,
They've got cool powers. It's a cool world.
Yeah.
It's got that kind of sort of industrial revolution level tech. So you've got some like steampunky elements to it as well. I think that does seem that would lend itself nicely to a video game. But so let's move on to the superhero genre, as it were, because there's a few properties that Netflix have: Jupiter's Legacy, Umbrella Academy, both adaptations of good comic books. But that could be decent games, I think, as well. That I especially like the idea of Jupiter's Legacy because it very much is. It's all about legacy. It's all about different generations of heroes and how they approach situations differently. So that conflict, that in turn, that struggle between those two groups could lead itself quite nicely to story beats and character development and stuff like that. Again, what type of game you get out of it? It's always difficult with superheroes, isn't it? Because they immediately become a bit OP. So it's quite hard to
Yeah.
make a superhero game that isn't just a fighting game, superheroes fighting superheroes. So I'm not really sure what direction you take that in, other than the old narrative-driven "make your choice now" bollocks, which I really hope they don't. It's not a game. It's not a game.
No.
Bandersnatch was an interesting experiment, and I did it, got all the endings and stuff, and it's really well done. But at the same time, it's not a game. It just isn't. It isn't. I think. Oh, the one more I wanted to mention is Snowpiercer. So again, another property based on a comic book, as so much of Netflix's original output seems to be. Snowpiercer is a French comic, by the way, and it's very, very good, very, very well written. It was an incredible movie by the same director that made Parasite, the one that won the Oscars a couple of years ago. If you've not seen the film, and I think the film is better than the TV show. However, the TV show is always expanding out the cast and the narrative and the story a lot and the characters. But I think it would be a really interesting challenge to how you make this in a video game, because it's all set on a single train. On one train, the Snowpiercer, which is this train that navigates around the whole planet, because the planet's undergone like an ice age, and it's the last remnants of humanity are on this train, and basically it's about the class divide. So you have at the back, you have all the like really poor like refugees, and then right towards the further front you get like the rich living in opulence, and it's about literal class divide, carriage by carriage on a train. So
You know what that sounds like to me?
Go on.
Metro.
The games 2033, 2034, and 35.
Yeah, similar sort of concepts.
There are trains in Metro, but it's not about that. And there's not so much class divide in Metro. It's all just
Not
about
class divide because
killing
everyone's
people.
fucked in that.
Yeah, everybody's fucked to death in Metro. It's the most miserable universe. But it's great.
There's remnants of humanity traveling on a train to various locations. Some sort of game
Exodus,
like
of course, has that train element that where you're traveling on. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
forgetting Exodus's plot point. Yeah, there. I was thinking of the earlier ones for some reason, but
So it could be something like that, where you have that world where you have to go and investigate and explore stops along the way, gather resources, and
yeah,
do you
they don't
help
really ever. They never
front?
leave. They never leave the train in Snowpiercer. It's just death if you get
Oh.
off the train, basically.
Oh, okay.
It's all about the train, at least in the movie and some of the TV show that I've seen. But yeah, you don't leave the train. Leave the train, bad things happen very quickly.
Lovely.
Yeah, I think there's a potential there. That could be a good first-person shooter. Again, with strong narrative elements and stuff like
Hey,
that.
it could be an on-rails shooter.
Oh, I love it. You win. That was very good. That was very good. Have you got any more you wanted to shout out?
Um, Pacific Rim. Now, we had one on, I think it was the 360 arcade a little while ago, a very long time ago, where it was a weird fighting game. I think there could be something there. Some sort of Jaeger customization, like
A mech warrior kind of.
yeah, like a Mecha Warrior type
Yeah.
game.
Maybe
How
some
you do-
RTS elements or like tower defense elements. I kind of imagine you could like
Ooh.
build up defenses around your Shatter Dome, and then controller Jaeger direct, and then there's a new incursion.
Yeah.
It's 3 Type 2s and a Type 4, and you have to then think of how to deal with them.
You
and
deploy pilots, or
Yeah.
do you take control
like,
of
I feel like that'd have to
Whiskey
have
Danger?
it'd have to have
Or
strategy,
Gypsy Danger.
tactical elements.
Yeah,
Like that'd be really
I quite
cool.
like that.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
kind of like blend a little bit of XCOM in there as well, with like character duo skill points and that sort of thing. Different
Oh yeah, like different
skills
Jaegers
and-
working together differently.
Yeah.
You can like give you different buffs, and then you could do multiplayer. So you could have someone play as the kaiju as well, and then have different because it's all the
by
classes they
Daylight.
have. So
Dead by Daylight-esque multiplayer.
you want asymmetrical? Oh, that would be interesting.
That could be quite interesting. Yeah. So you had a couple of people controlling Jaegers against a big kaiju, or the other way round, where you have multiple kaijus trying to find the Jaeger, but the Jaeger is more powerful because it has the guns, the ranged abilities, swords and that sort of thing. Whereas the kaiju, maybe they have to do what you had to do. I think it was Involved, where you had to gather resources to level yourself up, and improve. So yeah, there's lots of
There's some
possibilities
stuff there. I think that's that is
Is
a
this the
property
point-
that would work really well as a game. Really, really.
Is this the point where we start trademarking these ideas? Ben?
I feel like we should develop a Pacific Rim game. I feel like we've got it. We've got the ideas there. Let's prototype that and go to I think it's Lionsgate, isn't it? That
Probably.
made that. But yeah, and then obviously there's 2 here at the end that just begging for adaptations. I mean, House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. How can you not have a video game in which maybe we can all just kill Kevin Spacey a lot? I mean, we've
Yeah,
got that in one of those Call of Duty games, Advanced Warfare. You get to kill Kevin Spacey at
yeah.
the end of that. But who doesn't want to kill Kevin Spacey like repeatedly? I feel like we could do that in House of
I
Cards.
just kind of don't want to acknowledge his existence anymore
That's
because
probably
any
true.
attention is attention.
I mean, that is literally what they did in the final season of House of Cards. he died, and then the wife took over, and it was like he was just gone. So, yeah, maybe do that. And Orange is the New Black. We could do
He's
like
been Thanos snapped out of existence.
I feel like Orange is the New Black. The obvious thing would be like a prison architect DLC. Like they could just have like it's just an all women's prison. There you go. So game. But Prison Architect, by the way, is a really good game made by
Yes.
originally they've done some weird stuff. That developer was the guys behind Uplink and Defcon, based around where we are in Cambridge and stuff. The UK developer, I think I'm going to call Introversion, something like that. But they've kind of sold Prison Architect now on to another developer and publisher. They no longer have any control of it. It's now being future done by someone else entirely while they go on to a whole nother project, which is really curious. It's a very strange business model, that, but good for them.
I do
guess.
rather like Prison Architect. A friend of mine, he plays Prison Architect obsessively at times. He knows basically everything there is to know about it. It's brilliant what he can do with it. I did watch a YouTube video from the Spiffing Brit, who I do recommend his content, although he's probably got every bit of content now, where he basically turned Prison Architect into an engine for infinite money, which was very fun to watch him break mechanics.
Oh, okay.
The key to it was in Prison Architect to ignore the concept of a prison.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole thing. It's about half an hour long, and you just watch him make tons of money.
Oh, the money. So we've got some ideas, Netflix. Look, hit us up.
Yeah,
You don't need video game
Consultants.
execs. Just hire experienced kills. We will come up with all the ideas. And you'll be good. Like, look, we've just gone through half your bloody library here, coming up with game ideas for you. So honestly, let's do it.
royalties.
Let
Come
us
on.
know. Let us know. I've got a title for the episode now. It's going to be episode 31, pitching to Netflix.
Hey!
So I mean, because it is. But I think we should just quickly, and I do mean quickly, touch on the game, single game we have both been playing for the last week.
Yes.
We have
Actually,
a.
to be honest, I've been playing two. I've been playing 2 games this week.
Oh well, the other one doesn't count. It's on mobile.
No. Just run with me. Two games I've been playing: Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3.
Oh, okay. All right. But it's all Mass Effect Legendary Edition, so
It's all
one.
Mass Effect Legendary Edition, yeah.
Yes, I'm deep in 2. Rob's just mentioned he's finished 2. It's Mass Effect. We have a part 1 of our Mass Reflect series is now available to watch. Over an hour of us talking about just the first game. We will have another hour or hour and a half or whatever talking about the second game coming out next week. And then after that, the week after that, we will have the same for the third game. And then we'll do Andromeda. No, we won't. So
I might. I won't.
you've never done it, have you? You never played
I've
it.
never played Andromeda. No.
Yeah. It's
I've always wanted to.
It's on. Is it on Game Pass?
I think so.
Yeah, you should give
I've
it
got
a
the
go.
disc for it anyway.
You should give it. Oh, cool. You should. It's good. It's good. It's just not as good as the others, right? So it's fine.
Are you enjoying going back through 2?
Yes, it's a very comfy sock. Do you know what I mean? It's just like I know it so well. The first game I ever
comfortable pair of shoes that you just wear and
it's the first game I ever got every gamer score for, Insanity playthrough that did the whole thing. I've beaten that game quite a few times, like 4 times, 5 times. This will be like the 6th time probably. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. And the one thing I want to say is definitely what I've noticed is the improvements are less obvious over the first game. Obviously,
I actually had some glitches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd come out of cover and my shepherd would be facing that way, but my reticle was that way.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
I noticed one when I was talking to what's that name of that reporter, Angelani or something like that.
Oh yes.
So she was doing a thing, and I smacked her down with my Paragon response, and then it cut back to her, and her arm was like twisted back 90 degrees and over her head at the weirdest angle as she was talking to me, and then it just snapped back to normal, and I was like, okay, so you were
Yay,
practicing your
polygons.
contortions, okay. Like, look how flexible I am, Shepard. It was very strange. But no, I think for enhancement wise, obviously
Yeah.
it's never going to be the same level as the first game. That the step they
Mm.
take in the first game is incredible. It's much more just about it runs beautiful at the frame rate. It's just so smooth. Everything just looks incredible. Like, aiming feels, the gameplay in 2 is so good. Like, that hasn't changed.
I did. I did the Shadow Broker DLC for the first time ever.
First time. That is
Yeah,
the.
that was
Do you see what I mean
brand
about
new.
the best DLC ever made? Like,
Really?
yes.
Really?
You didn't think so?
It was good. I'm not saying it wasn't good.
Right. What's some better DLC? And you can't count the iterative bollocks that Destiny does as DLC. That whole release they're new games for all intents and purposes.
I don't know, but I don't understand why it's got such a lauded
I mean,
thing.
to be fair, it came out in, like, what was it, 2010?
Yeah.
Like, so back then there was a lot less quality DLC, I suppose. But
Two
for
different.
the size of the content, the writing, the character
Yeah.
development that you get in that, the twist of it as well, it's so good.
Twist?
Well, you don't know she's that, and you find out, don't you? And then you find out what
That,
the Shadow Breaker is and
come
all that, and
on.
it's really cool.
It was super obvious. The second. We'll probably need to talk about this off camera and then in our Mass
We'll
Reflect
talk about it in
episode
Mass
two.
Reflect Part 2, yes,
Yes,
next week.
because I feel Ben might come and kill me for some of my opinions.
Well, look, I obviously haven't played that bit yet. I need to play that bit. I haven't finished 2 yet, like you have. But I'm looking
I
forward
did
to doing it
Shadowbreaker
again.
before I did the final mission.
I mean,
I wrapped
yeah.
I wrapped everything up because in Mass Effect 2 you can do side stuff after the final mission. It's the only one that will permit you to do that because I did that
Yeah,
with
it's difficult in the third one.
yeah. uh, I did that with the Arrival DLC with the Batarian colony and Dr. Kenson. I did that after I'd done the suicide mission.
That makes sense.
Because
I mean,
it was
that makes
thematic
sense
to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I knew about that DLC. I knew what the storyline was for it, and so well, I'm going to do that afterwards because it's stupid to do it beforehand. So yeah, I've just started ME3. Started that yesterday, so I'm enjoying importing my level 30 character.
Nice.
I wasn't level 30 in Mass Effect 2. I am in 3. And yeah, I'm just now going through evolving my biotic powers, which is quite good fun.
My favourite
So,
thing
yeah.
about starting 2 was all the money I brought with me from 1. I had like 1,000,000 credits, so I was able to go to every shop and
Nice.
buy everything straight away.
Well, I was buying everything I could, especially because I had like 500,000, 600,000. I was just buying everything.
Do you know what
I
it
could
is?
get away with.
The only currency that I find you have to actually kind of work to get, element 0.
EZO. Yeah.
Yeah, EZO.
I ended up
only
Googling rich EZO planets.
Yep.
I would highly recommend actually then today do Shadow Broker because you get notifications of high element planets
do you?
after that. Yeah, there are a couple of
And
terminals.
Shadow
that you
Broker
can go
isn't
to.
open for me yet. I'm not sure when it happens in the story, but I
Yeah, it should be. Should
think
be in
so.
your messages terminal.
No, it's not yet.
The second you can go to Ilium.
Nope, I have not been to Ilium yet.
Oh, where are you?
I'm still quite early because I'm going to every planet and scanning it. Every
Why?
single planet.
You don't need
I
to.
have 200,000 platinum. It feels good.
I thought there was a cap in how much you could store, and then I realised there wasn't.
Just keeps. So you reach the top of that bar within like 5 seconds, and then it
The bar
just keeps
just-
on adding on. Yeah, it just keeps on adding on. It's like a broken graph. It's like up here, off
Yeah.
the top of the graph. Yeah. Anyway, for more Mass Effect discussion, much more,
more.
check out Mass Reflect. Part 1 is available on the channel, and Part 2 is coming next week. So we will have plenty more to talk about. Trust me. That's coming very soon. But that brings us to the end of this week's bro down between me and Rob here. The Bicker Bros bringing you the video game discussion. Mostly talked about news, but I really enjoyed pitching to Netflix. So I'll make sure
We'll look forward to any contracts or NDAs that come our way.
I'll send them the message. I'll let them know, and we might, from next week be gone as a channel because we're busy working for Netflix.
And this is where we submit to their suggestions portal, because you can put suggestions onto Netflix.
Can you?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my God! How desperate for ideas are they?
No, it was a while ago. I pitched to them doing Hannibal season 4 because basically Hannibal is one of my favourite franchises, and they just need to be picked up by a network.
Oh, so you didn't pitch? You just said, "Can you?"
Yeah,
right,
you.
I thought for a second you pitched the whole concept.
You would want to see.
Oh no, but that's not the same as pitching, is it? Pitching is like coming up with an idea.
Yeah, but if we get to the end result of my point that I raised originally we should put in their suggestions links to our channel.
It's good. All right,
bring their attention to us.
Yeah. Right, so that's the end of the episode. Thank you very much for tuning in this week. Please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. We would very much appreciate that. Bear in mind, though, that if you don't have time to watch these videos on YouTube, you can also listen to the podcast, which can be found pretty much anywhere a good podcast can be found. And if you do find somewhere that doesn't have it, let me know, and I will make that happen. That is my promise to you. I swear. On to you. Give us... I'm doing the wrap-up, Rob. Pulling faces doesn't help me. I'm just saying.
You never brought me here to help.
That's true. You can also find us on Twitter. So you can find me at DIYE. You can find Rob at Homeless Mr. Gibbs. With us, not at the moment, but usually about. You can find Cameron at Camelot, and you can find Richard at Colonel Red, who'll be back with us next week to talk about Psychonauts. Because that's our Game Pass Club, which should be quite exciting. So let's not forget, we need to play that one.
Need to remember that.
I did download it. I have not played it yet.
I have done neither.
And you can find us collectively at Experience Kills. And I think the other thing to bear in mind is we do stream on Twitch as well, so give us a follow on there. You can find that Twitch/Experience Kills or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's right. So yeah, head over there and follow us there as well. And I think that's everything for this week. And we'll be back next week with Richard and Psychonauts and more Mass Effect coming up in the week, and maybe some other videos as well. I really want to talk about a little game that's been made literally 5-10 minutes from where I live, and it's mental entertaining. But I won't say any more than that, and I think me and Rob are going to record that tomorrow. So, yes, it's been another good episode. Rob, thank you very much for joining me.
Always a pleasure.
And I think we will fly off in our Normandy into the sunset.
Yes.
See you all soon. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.